Hello, it is Scott with Zenvi AI, host of the Systems Are Sexy podcast. I am here today with Dustin Owens. He's the founder and broker in charge of Mantle Realty out of North Carolina. He started flipping homes back in 2007, got his real estate license to save on commissions, and ended up building one of the most authentic, fast growing independent brokerages in the market. What really sets him apart is how he runs Mantle. He's not chasing agents or doing big box recruiting. He's really about building great agents, a real culture, and real results. So, Dustin, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate you having
I
me on.
wanted, yeah, of course. I wanted to, your story is really interesting, and I find your agency is really interesting how you approach it. So, could you give us an idea of how you got started from being an investor to becoming a brokerage owner?
So, whenever I first got started in real estate, like you said, I was investing in properties and I didn't know any better of the rules and regulations of what a realtor standards was whenever they're trying to flip properties at the exact same time. That's my caveat off of it. But I tell people I was too young and dumb to realize what was going on. I just wanted to be authentic. And so, whenever I first started, he kept seeing 3, 6, 5%, whatever it was, going out the window whenever I was flipping a property. And said, hey, man, if I just went ahead and got my real estate license, I could be saving on this. And while I do suggest it on a purchase of a flip, definitely not going to suggest it on the list of a flip. And that's a totally different conversation for a different day. But I started that way and started buying a couple properties of mine and just thought I was just going to hang my license for myself and just being a mom and pop shop and just work from there, sell a couple houses for myself and maybe a family member here or there that might actually buy some. And then the whole recession came about, and I was really young at the time and didn't really know anything that I wanted to do because, uh, fun fact, I met a girl at a party and she said, I think you could sell real estate because I was graduating college and had no clue what I was going to be doing. Well, I happened to start working for that girl's sister and we both were flipping properties and everything else. So it was a great time. And then like I said, the recession happened. We went our separate ways, and I decided I was going to start my own firm and go from there because then I went from getting tired of paying real estate agents to I got tired of paying actual firms themselves, and it just sort of ballooned itself after a couple, 2 or 3 people said that they wanted to get into real estate. So I had no experienced agents going with me. My wife was a full-time school teacher, and it was a long road to hoe. Did all the remodel work myself on our office. Took me about 2 years to be able to even have a storefront brick-and-mortar place.
Yeah, I wanted to chat with you about your agency because I feel like you have a different approach to it. I kind of like you care less about agent count and more about just building good agents. What does that look like for you? Like, how do you build a good agent versus just recruiting somebody that's been in an agency for 10 years?
So a couple things I would tell you is, first, our culture is really big for us. We care about the people that are around us, and we care about our community. So whether it's our agents or just somebody in the community, they might actually have just used another agent to buy or sell a property. But if I can help them out and love on them, they're going to come use us sometime sooner than later. And we have that exact same aspect when it comes to recruiting agents and things like that. The reason why I don't go after an experienced agent is completely different from most people. I don't like a lot of the energy that a brand or that a experienced agent has because they're used to that toxic environment. They don't know what's good, what's bad, what's ugly. I tell people all the time, my big joke is I want unexperienced agents so I can teach you my bad habits. And by my bad habits is let's go love on everybody, and it doesn't make any sense at all on the real estate end of things. And so when we look for agents, we look for people who fit our culture because we've hung out with them at an event or did a transaction with them. Sure, I'll say there's a place here for you, but there's no recruiters calling for us. There's no email list that after we've closed a deal that we're saying, hey, do you want to go grab a cup of coffee with us? Or here's a book for you. Because we all know if you've been in the industry long enough, you get those poaching phone calls. And I also feel like that's dirty to my own agents because if the only thing I'm looking for is the next agent, it's just sort of like those agents who are selling a property that want to sell the property more than they want to actually help a client out. So they'll say like, oh yeah, those repairs aren't really that big of a deal. You can handle it afterwards, knowing good and well that they're a pretty big deal. So if I'm out recruiting other people, I can't love on my own agents as much. So we have like Indeed ads, word of mouth, a couple social media posts, and that's how we've grown. And we don't hire everybody who comes and interviews with us. And I tell people, you're interviewing me, I'm interviewing you. This is like a Tinder match at the end of the day. We got to make sure that it all works out because I learned about 4 or 5 years ago, had a toxic environment, had a couple big agents that decided, hey, I'm bigger than everybody else. I should have favoritism, things like that, and have special treatment. And I just don't believe in that as a whole. And so we decided we're going to cut ties with some of those people, and it dropped our production quite a bit. Like, so that the agents that we let go probably close 10, $15 million a year on a regular basis. And that's a lot of money in my market. We're about $400,000 average price point right now at most, probably closer to the 3 number. So you're talking about a decent heavy hitter for this market, and the culture and the environment started to build back up, and it worked itself out. But the other thing that we do is I'm here for my agents most of the time. So that because I want to have a life and I want to watch my kids grow up and have a great time. So I make sure that they know it's okay to do the exact same thing in a transaction. Because if I'm willing to do that to them and say, hey, I'll call you after dinner versus running out, picking up the phone, miss dinner with my family. It's a big deal. So that's sort of how we've built it up. We've got about 30 agents, give or take. I don't know the actual number because I don't care. Like you said, we used to look at the production numbers and then it started to be everybody would be like, oh, that agent got this because they're friends with Dustin. And that wasn't the case, but that's what everybody just assumes. Nobody wants to take personal responsibility for things. So we don't look at production numbers. I'll look at the number of calls you made, the social media posts you've made, what community groups you're telling me that you're involved in, things like that to tell you what your production numbers really look like.
How are there different challenges running an independent brokerage compared to having a franchise model? I know you've always done independent, but have you talked with people like that maybe have a franchise and learning the challenges that you may have, or maybe even the advantages of what you do?
Well, I'll give you a shameless plug here. The systems that you have to put in place as an independent brokerage, people have no clue. I've seen multiple agents start with, making a team and then go out on their own, especially there's a decent little EXP exodus that is happening right now. And I'm seeing those agents that are going out on their own. And I'm hearing their horror stories about how do you do this? How did you build this out? Everything from the drip campaign templates to the website development, the Google views, the main social media pages, things like that. The everyday work that has to be done is quite time consuming. So much so, I tell people all the time, I don't sell for a reason. My job over here is to do everything that you don't know that needs to be done. And if I didn't do my job, then you know I didn't do it. But other than that, I'm just the Wizard of Oz, man behind the curtain kind of situation because I'm out there trying to help my agents. That's the other thing I would tell you. If you're really serious about starting your own firm, at some point you have to stop selling because those agents need to be able to call you and contact you and bounce ideas off you and for you just to be present for them. And if you're out showing properties, appointments, things like that, and they can't get you, they feel neglected. So it's just a hard tip, but a quick tip I would always give to people is if you're really serious about growing it and your culture is important, you better stop selling at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really good that you said that. Something else I think you do that's unique is you essentially create your own tech stack. I feel like you're in the minority on that. So can you kind of walk us through why you decided to build your own tech stack and what it does for you?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of different automation into things. For me, every day I look at if it is something that is reproduced a couple times a month, minute situations that I feel like you have to actually start figuring out how to actually exponentially grow. And one of those ways is with the automation end of things and just being able to say, this is a tool, it's not a replacement for you. And so, for example, I've made forms for my agents that whenever they fill out an under contract buyer form, it's going to ask questions in there and it's going to have what's considered conditional logic, which means if this answers yes, then this task happens. So, for example, if it's a loan, a lot of brand new agents don't know that there has to be a pest inspection. and you get to right before closing, and then you don't have a pest inspection. Underwriting's like, "Where's this at?" And everybody's delayed because you didn't know as a brand new agent. I built that conditional logic in there to sort of help with the pain points. I've made email templates based off of the forms and everything else that are there. So it tells my buyers or sellers or whoever, even lenders, vendors, whatnot, hey, this is what we've got going on. Here's my suggestions. So I've got everything from viewing the property before you're under contract to wiring instructions to the day of closing, to email reviews, bringing family and friend members over to the property. So they're not all used, but they're all there. And then the other thing that I do off of my forms is so the under contract buyer form sends a task to our graphic designers to say, hey, this property is going to close on this date. Here you go. Go ahead and schedule a just sold posting for these people. Or if it's a listing, it automatically gives them all the information to be able to start the listing process on the backside. So I've probably freed up most people 20 to 30 hours of transaction by building forms and just a little bit of extra tech. Like another example is a quick and easy one is you fill out a Google form and it automatically puts it in your calendar, your inspection period dates, your earnest money delivery times, your closing dates, things like that. And it automatically goes in there. And then it sends an invite to all the parties that need to have an invite for whichever one it is. So just building out those kinds of things that I know that's a task, know that would be helpful in the long run and raise either customer satisfaction or vendor satisfaction even. Because if you're a person to deal with a vendor, they're probably not going to refer you out either. So it's a little bit of growth situation there too for us.
Yeah, that's great. You said something we spoke earlier that I really liked. It was that if I have to repeat it, I don't want to do it myself. And I'm wondering, how do you balance what you automate versus what still needs a human touch? Because I feel like real estate's always been about the human touch, and obviously you've embraced technology. A lot of realtors haven't, but I'm wondering how do you kind of differentiate? Hey, I still need to have the human touch, and it's part of the business.
So what I tell our agents is, especially like the tasks that I build inside Asana or things like that based off those forms, these are suggestions off of them. But if we just wait off of the AI to do anything, then we just become just like everybody else because at some point, sooner or later, AI is going to be just like Zillow, Realtor.com, everything else. Where when I first got started in real estate, there was this thing called listing, but that was it. And you had to have an account to be able to look at properties on the MLS and somebody had to set up a search for you. They had it was almost like dealing with a 5-year-old of looking at properties, of setting up messages and things like that. And so I tell people the more information I can get from somebody, the less I need to be involved and the more AI can actually develop it. But beforehand, I have to figure out their story. Something that me and you have been able to talk about is I know a lot of agents are really upset about the AI part of Zillow integrating into ChatGPT. And one of the things I've told my agents is take the person's story and put it in your ChatGPT and mention, hey, I'm looking for a client that wants to be in this school district. They have dogs. They have a growing family. They were looking at this and this price point. Give me your suggestions on what you think. And then you've got an extra set of eyes that are seeing properties. Yeah, it's on Zillow, but then you can send it from your own website and things like that. So I'm going to use somebody else's AI tool against them at the exact same time of creating a story, finding out what somebody's why is. And like, for example, we don't ask people, what do you want in a property? What's your needs, must have, things like that. Ask, what do you love about the property you're in right now? And what do you hate? So reword another question, but then I can be more descriptive whenever I'm trying to make that personal touch and being able to figure out everything.
Yeah, I really like that question. That's really good. I know you'd mentioned Zillow and Realtor, and then kind of more focused on that instead of Google and PPC and ads. I'm just wondering what lead source has been the best for you guys to get new business?
So I personally do not believe in Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, any of those sites. And the reason being is I have to actually, I call it the faucet. If I turn the faucet on for a lead that comes through that system, I have to keep it on or I have to learn how to actually convert a lead at some point. And I did that with all my agents over here. And so if you don't know how to convert a lead and you're just waiting on pretty much the fish in a barrel lead is what most agents wait off of. I've been in the market long enough where I can remember where a high quality lead was a $7 to $12 lead. Now you're looking at 50 to 75 bucks for those exact same leads 10 years later. So what's your stopping point of your budget and things like that? So what we use, I use a lot of Google pay per click, and I have a tremendous amount of landing pages. A lot of them I built out with some automation, whether it was with Python, WordPress sites, and plugins and things like that. A little bit of iMacros back in the day. So I have a tremendous amount of landing pages for people to come in organically that I don't have to keep paying for pretty much. I might have to tweak it all every now and then. But as a company, we spend $1,500 a month in advertising, and that is it. And it's been that way for quite some time. We've just learned how to convert our leads way better. So we use off of that paid advertisement, just Google pay per click. So out of all my agents, I have one that pays for their own Zillow leads because they don't want to deal with the Google pay per click ads. And I don't care. I'm not paying for it. So that's the way I look at it. But it changes the game whenever you realize build this out in the long term. I've made my own well versus paying for the city water, I guess the best analogy I can make off of it.
Got it. Going back to independent brokerage, how do you guys feel like how do you guys I guess, compete against, because there's in the market's is flooded with the big brokerages out there. How do you feel like, what is your advantage, or what do you tell your clients about working with an independent versus a larger firm?
Well, the first thing I tell people is pretty much what's the difference? We all have the exact same mix page. We all have the exact kind of website, things like that. Really and truly, there's not that much different. It's just somebody's paying a lot more for a brand. And while that sounds great, when's the last time you've seen your listing actually put on a TV show or them actually have paid advertisement? For us being a small brokerage, we can turn on a dime. We can do things that we don't have to pass by a huge board and copyright people and things like that, and we can just go out and be fluid on the fly. The other thing that I'll tell people all the time, I think works better than anything else is, "Hey, look, I am a small brokerage owner. All my agents work right here. If we aren't good at what we do and you bash our company and we lose clients and customers, I don't have anywhere else to go. This is my baby. This is what I started. And if I don't keep up with this, it's gonna sink. I can't be like these other brokers and charges, building huge teams at Keller Williams and whatnot, and then you just say, "Hey, I don't like the way this is being going. I'm just gonna jump ship and go to a different firm and just start back over with the firm," and people just think that something's completely changed. We don't have that opportunity, so we're gonna give you great customer service every time.
So let's say a broker's listening right now, and you've done a lot of automation. Maybe what's one marketing or automation move that's really made the most impact on your business?
So one thing I've done is it's almost reciprocal or not reciprocal. Pretty much it goes in a cycle for me of creating my content videos. Now, I loathe home tours. I loathe anything that is a single use video that as soon as the property goes under contract or they just sold the property and I put up a just sold holding a key photo, I loathe those. So what I've started to do is make buyer seller tips, reload tips, things like that. And the automation comes down to one, I type in ChatGPT or whatnot. I have a whole project of its own just for real estate video ideas. It gives me my click to action button. It gives me my whole script. It gives me B-roll options, things like that. And then after I produce it and upload it into a Dropbox folder, it automatically starts a video editing task for the video editors. And here's where the fun part goes. So then I have automation of once that video is posted in certain playlists inside of YouTube, it then creates me a blog based off of the video and then attaches the video into the blog itself. And then after the blog is posted, because yeah, we're going to edit it and touch it. Like we said, not everything is just completely 100% automated. Once it's posted, it automatically once it's posted on our website, it automatically posts on social media too. So one video creates a landing page, which then creates another social media page that says go visit our blog. So we're one of the highest rated blogs in North Carolina because of that, because I've automated so much of it, and I've gotten a tremendous amount of traction off of just the blog entries of relocating into the area, what's due diligence what you should be looking at, red flags real estate, explaining different loan types, things like that. It's been pretty cool to be able to see some people come in just because of that. Like one of our crazier videos that we've started doing is neighborhood tours, and they're not even houses that we have listings in. And we'll be like, hey, if you're thinking about moving to the area, here's a great neighborhood for you to keep an eye out for a search. And who sees it? All the people who live in that neighborhood. And then we've gotten 2 listings from 4 videos that we've posted, and like I tell my agents all the time, "If I told you you gotta do 2 days worth of work to get 2 listings, would you do it?" And they say, "Yeah." So that's what we've started making more and more of that.
Yeah, repurposing blogs and different outputs, but also making them evergreen so they can live.
Exactly.
Yeah. So as you guys continue to grow in your next stage of growth, what do you think the biggest bottleneck right now is that you'd love to solve, whether it's through AI or just better systems?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think more of our is much more real than other people. It's like I tell people my mullet is my warning label. And so sometimes people say, oh, they're not serious because I'm not posting the same kind of stuff as other people. And so sometimes it's sort of hard to get new agents to come on because people have the stereotype in their head of what a real estate agent's supposed to be. And when they want to first start getting their real estate license, they think selling sunset and I need to go over here to this big brokerage, even though I'm just going to be another small person in the small fish in a big pond pretty much. But on the automation and AI end of things, I think that the bigger issue right now is the AI context because I can pretty much I'm self-taught for most of my AI stuff and it takes a long time to do that. That you get it started, and then next thing you know, it's starting to spew out random information, like making neighborhood blog posts and things like that, and it's saying how it's got a swimming pool and it's close to this, that, and the other, and I'm thinking, "That place doesn't even exist." So, I know AI is catching up with it, but again, you gotta hold its hand quite a bit of knowing what's gonna be a bottleneck and what's actually gonna flow great for yourself.
Like, to kind of piggyback off of that, is there if you could wave a magic wand and automate one part of your business, what would it be? Or maybe you've already done it, maybe you don't have that issue.
Pretty much automated most of my daily task. I automate everything from our weekly training meetings, it's been great, to our video editing. I think that what I would automate more is the processing of videos is extremely difficult on AI right now. Maybe it's due to file size and storage, things like that. But the cutting of videos, like I use Opus Clips, but you can't upload anything in Opus Clips over 1 gigabyte, and that's nothing on a high quality video. And then, the captions, things like that. So I would probably say I had to wave my magic wand, and I assume that in the next 6 months to 2 years, it'll happen, is a better process of video production, I guess, is the best way I'd look at it.
Okay. Last one here for you. What advice would you give to independent brokers that want to scale but also want to remain authentic to who they are?
Well, my first thing, I learned this from Gary Vee. If you don't know who Gary Vee is, he's a great entrepreneur. Hire fast, fire faster, because people who are toxic are going to bring down quite a few other people by the conversations in the office, things like that. Like one of the rules I've put in place in my office is if you've got an issue, you have to give me 3 solutions and which one's your favorite, AKA you pretty much figured out everything that you want fixed anyways, and you're going to tell me what you think. And then stay true to who you are. There's a book called The Infinite Game, which is very real estate related. Of if we start looking at numbers, the external environments of real estate, whether it's interest rates, recessions, foreclosures, whatnot, will affect our bottom line so much that we don't know whether we're being productive or not. And so I like to look at things that are much more scalable and see what we can do and how we can scale it, whether it's with automation or just changing a processing and times or maybe even thought process. And if you're not real with your clients and your agents and things like that, they're going to see right through that sooner and later. It takes a little while, but you're pretty much building your whole firm on a sand foundation versus being strong and having those pillars of other agents that are with you. Like, quick example, my mom got married at Myrtle Beach, which is about 4 hours away from here. And I was in Colorado for graduation of a buddy of mine in Air Force. We needed to get a trailer full of wedding stuff down to the beach because, everybody has all that stuff. I had 3 agents that one took the stuff down there, one took my kids, and the other one came to help set everything up. And that's saying a lot for my people. And we tell everybody that we're the Mantle Mafia because once you're in, and your family. So much so, I have it tattooed on my arm. It's right there. And I'm the 3rd person to get that tattoo. So it's very different. And that's my only tattoo.
Wow. Has anybody grown out a mullet?
My kids, but most of them don't have the hair to be able to grow a sweet mullet.
All right.
Halloween, we do a lot of, pretend versions of it, that's for sure. They like to dress up.
That's funny. So if people want to learn more about Mantle Realty, what's the best way to check you guys out?
Yeah, so we're on every social media site that's known to man pretty much, and I have make sure that whenever we first sign up that I get that URL. So it's at mantlerealty.com, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, anything that way. But if you got any questions, mantlerealty.com is our website. I'd give you my phone number, but I'm not gonna answer my phone. Just that's the way I'll live life now. I too many scammers and investors calling me all the time. But, all those websites, and I'm on there active on the daily, so be glad to answer any questions about firms and automation and suggestions. I like to be an open book. I wanna help people. Tell people all the time, some of my best friends are competitors because there's enough of the pie to go around for everybody. We don't have to hoard it. And so I love sharing information and helping out other agents, firms, things like that.
It's awesome. Well, thanks, Dustin. This has been really helpful and fun to be a part of. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you, sir.